So till now we have seen the basic concepts of Python, like what are tokens. Specifically, if I talk about, we have seen what are keywords, what are operators, identifiers and literals, right? And in this video we are going to explore these concepts in a more detailed manner with the help of some programs. So in this video specifically we are going to make 2-3 programs and we are going to see how Python actually work programmatically. Plus, we are going to discuss about two most important statements of Python. We will learn two functions. These two functions are print method and input method. Along with input method, I will also show you what are data types in Python. And we are not going to explore about all the data types in this video right now, but we will see what is data type and how you will use these data types in your programs for now. In the upcoming videos, maybe in the next video, you will see what are these data types and how many data types we do have in Python in reality. But for this video, we will only use that content which will be required in these programs for now. So now without any further ado, let's dive into programming. Hello everyone, this is Rajat Valecha and you are watching Computorial In. This is the extension of our series Python Reloaded, and in this video we are going to make some Python programs. The first question that we have is, write a program in Python to calculate sum of two numbers. Well, if you remember, in the previous video we have already made a program for the same problem. And in this video again we are going to write a code for the same thing, but this time we are going to use some functions in this program. We will specifically talk about input functions in this question. Now before talking about input function, let's understand why actually we need input function in any programming language and what is the role of input in our programs. Let's assume you have an ATM card with you and you are visiting any ATM machine or any ATM for withdrawing some cash. Now you all must have seen that when we go to any ATM, first of all we have to insert our card, right? And once you insert your card, your machine asks for a PIN. So you generally enter a PIN, and once that PIN has been validated, it asks you for the operation, right? So it will ask you to do the operation. Once you will pick up the operation, it will ask you some further questions. For example, if your operation was to withdraw the cash, so it will ask you how much amount you want to withdraw. And once you have selected the amount, it will ask you whether you want receipt or not. So if you see what our ATM machine is doing, at every step it is asking about your concerns or it is asking values from you. For example, when you have inserted the card, just after that it start asking about the PIN or some other options, right? Now when you will enter the PIN, that PIN is an input in our case. Similarly, when you will pick up any of these operations, that operation will be an input in our case, and when you will type in some amount, that amount will be input in our case. So whenever you will write any of these things, these will be the inputs by your machine, and your machine will take the inputs for the further processing purpose. Now let's assume that if the ATM will not ask you for the PIN, if there is some PIN that is already given in the ATM machine, if you all are supposed to use that same PIN, so what do you think? Will that program will be a better one? Will you use such programs with those fixed values? Or let's say that your ATM machine doesn't give you any option for picking up the amount on your own. That machine gives you always some amount on its own. It means that your machine is not giving you any options to type in the amount, right? So will you use any such ATM machine? Well, if you remember the last time that code we have written, that code was something like this. The problem with this code is, if we talk about this piece of code that you all are able to see, in this piece of code the biggest problem is that we have fixed values. That is, whenever you will run this program, this machine will always return you as 15 as your answer. Now we all know that whenever we are adding two numbers, we don't want the result as 15, right? Maybe you want to enter some other numbers, or maybe your friends, they want to enter some other numbers. So in such a scenario, this program is not a good program. It is not any effective approach of writing codes. Now what we have to do in such a situation, when you want to make some real life programs, you actually need some numbers from the user. It means the person who is using program, that person will input the numbers, and for that purpose we have a function in Python that is called as input function. And the most important thing about this input function is that this input function is of string type. Okay, this input function is of string type. It simply means that whatever values this input function will accept, all of these values will be of string type. And in strings, if we talk about strings, strings are generally characters which are written together, and with these characters we cannot perform arithmetic operation. It means maths is not possible with the characters, and if the maths is not possible, it means with the input you cannot calculate the sum of two numbers. Now this is the biggest problem that we have, and we have a very easy solution for that. Because we don't have the numbers with this input by default, what we can do is, we cannot use rainbows in this case, but what we can do is we can use a method with the input one. We have a class called as int, so we can use a function of that class, that is int function. So you can simply write it like this. You can write int, inside which you will write input, and then you can type a string inside this, that will be enter any number. Okay, so now when you will write this piece of code, let me explain you this piece of code, what will actually happen now. So when you will write such a piece of code, your user will get this particular thing as an instruction. After getting this instruction, your user will input the value, and then that value will be converted to the int type. Let me repeat it once again. This line of code that I have written just now, this line of code will simply work like this, that first of all, this statement that is written inside the input function, it will be given to the user as a prompt. Once the user will get the statement, that user will type in some values, so the input method will take the values from the user. These values will be given to the int method, and int method will convert that number to a, that value to a numeric form if it is possible to convert that number. And once that number is converted, you can assign this value to any variable. Okay, so this was a theory concept. Now let's quickly apply this practically and see how this is actually working. So if I talk about the actual program, so program should be like this. We will assume a variable as a, and then we have to note down a equals to int input, and then inside this we will write a string, that is enter a number. Okay, now before writing this program, let's do one thing. Let's check this practically for now, for once at least, like how this int is working, okay, and whether it is giving you any input value or any string value or not. So let's say in the script mode I have written a equals to input, and then I'm typing like enter any value. Okay, so if I do type this, and if I do press the enter, so you can see it is asking me for a value. Let's say I've written the value as let's say Rajat. This is my name, and it has accepted the value, and now I'm just simply typing a, and you can see it is giving us that name as it is. So if I try to multiply, or if I try to simply divide something with this name, it is not possible, because as I have told you just now, this input a is of string type. Let me show you how we can check the types. For checking types, we have a type method in Python. So when you will type this, it will show you the type of the values that you have entered just now. So you can see that it's very clear to us that this value that we have typed just now, it is a string value. Now let's do one thing. I'm copying that same line this time, and like this time I'm going to write this line with a minor change. What I'm going to do is, before this input, I'm going to put the int method, and basically I have wrapped the input inside the int method, and let's press the enter key this time. Now this time if I will type any string value, let's say I have written Rajat, so it will show you error, because the value that we have written just now, that value is asking for an integer value, and converting a string to an integer is not possible. Okay, so if let me try this once again. If I again type it, you can see now it is again asking for any value, and this type I have given a value as 89. So you can see that that value has been accepted. And even if I try to divide that value a by 2, it is also possible. Okay, so by using this int before any value, you can convert that value to the integer type. So now we have successfully taken the first number as our input from the user, and for the second number we will again copy this line. So this time we will take the variable as b, and let me write it as that enter another number, and then we are typing c equals to small c, it should be, because I wanted to type a small c. You can also pick a capital B if you just wanted to. So I have written c equals to a plus b, and then I have written print p should be small because it is a keyword and keywords have to be written as it is. Then in double quotes I am writing sum is, and then I put a comma, and then I am writing c. Okay, let me tell you one more thing, guys. Let's talk about this print statement a bit before moving any further. So if I talk about this print statement, in this print statement we have certain formats that we need to follow. Inside a print statement you can directly write any variable, or you can directly pass any constant value, like I have written sum, or I have written, let's say, 3. We can also write mathematical expressions inside the print statement. Let's say I have written print 3 plus 5, so it will give you the value as 8. Okay, plus if you want to type any string along with the number, you can write them like this. You can write print sum is, you have to put a comma, and then you can write the variable. In this case, first it will print this value and then it will print this value, because these two values are separated with the comma operator. So let's do one thing now. Let's quickly copy this code and let's jump to our Pythons ideally, and let's see how this code will work. And as I've told you last time, that whenever we have a big code to write down, we will use the editor mode of ideally. So let me quickly open the editor mode and let me like place both the windows side by side so that you can see things in a better format. So you can see I have pasted the code over here. Now let me click on the file and let me save this. So I'm saving this on my desktop. I have a folder named as Python Reloaded. So it is a sum question, so I have written sum, and let's save it. So this question is saved. Let's press the F5 shortcut key. You can see that it is directly asking for a number. Let's suppose the number was 85. Now it is saying enter another number. Let's suppose I have written the number as 98, and you can see we have got the result that was 183. So this is how you can easily execute your codes in Python, and you can take input from the user. Now there is one more possibility. Let's assume if our user will type in any value with the decimal points. Let's assume the user was typing the value was 85.5. You can see it is showing error to us. Now the biggest query is, why are we getting a value error with the 85.5? Well, if we talk about this value 85.5, this value 85.5, it is not sorry, it is not integer value. Okay, this value is basically a float value, because when we type numbers with decimal points, these values are considered as float values. So in case of float values, your input should be like this. You can write float input, and then you can put in your statement in between this, and this will work in case of float values. So let me show you how this will work basically. So let's do a minor change in the same question. We are replacing the int with the float. So you can see I have replaced in both the places. Let's save it. Let's press the F5, and it is asking for the first number. Let's assume the first number was 85.5, that same value. This time the number has been accepted, and let's type the second number as 78. So this will also be accepted. Okay, and we have got our answer, that is C, in the proper desired type. Okay, so whenever you are taking inputs from the user, you have to be specific about the value type, because you are converting a string value to that particular value type. And always keep one thing, you cannot convert any float value to integer type, because converting a bigger value to a smaller format is not possible. Okay, when we talk about float values, these are bigger in comparison to the, you can say, integer value. So that's why this conversion is actually not possible. Okay, so we have got our first question. Now let's quickly move to our second problem. Our second problem is a very interesting one. In this case, we have to calculate area of a circle, and we have two options. In the first option, the program is asking us to like calculate with a fixed value. In the second one, we have to take our input from the user. So let's quickly write a code for this directly in the ideally window. Open a new window, and this time we are writing a value r. So I have written r equals to 5. We are making the first case. And then because we have to calculate area, let's check the question once again. It is asking for calculating area. Okay, of a circle. So we have written area, so I'm assuming the variable as a, and I have written a equals to 3.14 into r into r. Now there is one important thing that you all need to know. Whenever you have to calculate square of any value in Python, we have two options. First is we can write that value like this. Second option is a bit interesting one. We can write that value like this. We can write r double asterisk 2. This double asterisk operator is called as the exponent operator, and it can be used for calculating powers of the numbers. So if you have written r asterisk r, it refers to r square. So let's try both the things. Okay. So in one statement I have assumed a variable and I have written r into r, and then I'm assuming one more variable, let's say a1, just to check whether it is working like this or not, and I have written 3.14 into r and then double asterisk 2. Okay, and let's print this. So we have written print, and then we are writing the value, this like area is, and then I have written comma a, and then again I am writing the same statement for the area 1 that we have calculated with the like exponent operator. So I am writing area 1 is, let me put something so that we can differentiate the values easily. So this is a1. Now let's save this question. Okay, so I'm going to save this again on the same folder, that is in like desktop. So desktop, Python reloaded, and this is circle. So I'm going to write the question name as circle. Let's save this. Okay, so this question has been saved. Now let's quickly press the F5 key. You can see we have got the exactly same answer. It simply means that you can write the program in both the possible ways. Now let's do a minor change. In this case, what we are going to do, we are going to assume the number from the user. We are basically going to let the number from the user. Now a very important thing, whenever you are taking any number from the user, you have to be very specific for the user. Now when your user is basically giving you the value of radius, we have a possibility, and being a programmer we have to think about all the possibilities. We have a possibility that our user can give us a float value as well as any integer value. In such a scenario, when you have a doubt in between float and int, it is better to use float type, because float type can also accept the integer values. Now let's run the code and let's see what I am saying actually. So what I am saying is, in place of 5 we can write it like this. We can write float, and then inside float we can write the input function. Then we can pass our string over here, like I am writing enter radius. Like this, you can save it, you can press the F5, and you can see it is asking for the radius. And let me type the value as 5, which is basically an integer value, and we have got the same answer, that was 78.5. Now let's run this program once again for a different value. Let's assume you wanted the value as let's say 83 or 83.5. So once again, when you will run the program, let's assume the value was 83.5. So we have got the answer in this format. Okay, so when you use the float type, your values will be changed accordingly. So I hope you must have got this question. So let me copy the code once again for my friends, so that you all can easily copy the question along with the code afterwards. Now don't worry guys, after the end of this video, from the description section, you can download all these codes. I will share the Google Drive link with you, so you can easily grab all the codes from there. So here it is our third program, and in this question we have to do something different. Okay, so if you have noticed, for every question we had something new, and in this question we have a very interesting statement. That is, this question is saying input age and then check whether you are eligible to vote or not. Now this is a very interesting question, and with this question, with this video, we are going to learn a very important concept as well. Well, whenever we have to check something, we have a statement called as if statement. Okay, let me repeat this once again. Whenever we have to check something, we have a statement called as if statement, and you can pass, or you can simply put in your conditions inside the if. If the condition is true, then Python will run the commands for that, and if the condition is false, the Python will not run any single command for that. Okay, so let's write a code first, and then let's explore about this code in detail. So let's open a new window once again, and this time we have to take a number from the user, that will be the user's age, and let's talk about the age first of all. Okay, Now just think and answer me. What do you think? What kind of value we have to assume this time? When we talk about age, please comment down in the comment section. What do you think? Age should be float or int? As per me, I'm going to take the value type as int, but you have to tell me why cannot we take the float value as the age? Okay. So I'm writing a variable, let's say it is age, and I've written age int in brackets. I'm writing input. Inside I'm writing a statement that is sorry for the enter, and I'm writing a statement that is enter your age. And then let's write that magic statement. Okay, so before writing that magic statement, let's print the age once. So I have written age entered, sorry, is, and then I have written space age. Okay, and let's write that magic statement now, that if condition. Okay, so let's put a condition now. So I'm writing if. Now let's see what this if is actually and how it basically works. Okay, so the question is saying check whether you are eligible to vote or not. Okay, and when we talk about voting, we all know that for being eligible to vote, your age should be more than or equals to 18 years. So I have written a statement basically that is carrying some operators over here. I have written age should be more than or equals to 18, and then I have like used these semicolons. Okay, and these semicolons actually do have a meaning over here. Inside this I am writing print you can vote, and in the else part let's move, and this time I am writing else, sorry, print, and inside this we are writing you can't vote. Let's save this. Okay, and again desktop, same folder, let's name it as vote check. And there's an important instruction from my end. Whenever you are making your programs, please do not give the space in the program names. Okay, there are certain reasons why we are doing this, and I'll explain you this later on when we'll talk about this topic in a detailed manner. So this is saved, and let's press the F5 key. So it is asking for the age. Let's say I'm typing the age as 8 years, and it is saying age entered is 8 and you cannot vote. Let's type it once again. Let's suppose this time the age is 78 years and it is saying you can vote. Okay, now let's talk about this code in a detailed manner, like actually what is happening in this question. Now let's talk about this code in a detailed manner. Well, if you have noticed till now, so these few statements, these two statements were the common one, right? And the only change that we have got, that change is basically with this block of code. In this block of code, first of all we have written if. So this if is a conditional block. Inside the if you can write any condition. Okay, and the condition with the if is if in case this condition is true, then only this if will move forward, and if the condition is not true, it can jump to the else part, and if you have not written the else part, then it will jump to the next statement. Now the most important thing is that with the if statement, after writing condition in the brackets, we have to put colons, and after putting these colons, on the very next line you have to leave a tab space and then only write your statements. Now putting these tab spaces in Python is the most important thing, because these tab spaces, they actually create blocks in Python. Okay, for making a block of code we have to use tab spaces in Python. So after giving a tab space, you will write a statement. Whatever you will write like this will be considered as the statement of if. Okay, let's assume you have written multiple statements here like this. So all of these statements will be considered inside the if, and all of these statements will work along with the if. And whatever you will write before that, it means without the tab spaces, will be considered after the if block. And if in case this condition that you have written inside the if is false, then only it will jump to the else part. For example, let's say the age that we have entered is 8 years. So in this case, you can see that this condition is false because it is saying age should be more than or equals to 18 years. and because this condition is false, the program will jump to the else part. Okay, so this was a basic concept of this Python course. I hope you all must have got these basic concepts till now. So I hope you must have liked all these programs, and don't worry about the codes, my friends, because from the description section you will get a link of our Google Drive from where you can find all of these questions and their codes. Till then, keep watching our channel, and if you have liked this video, don't forget to press the like button, and if you haven't subscribed us yet, please go and hit the subscribe button just now. Thank you so much guys, and keep learning.